Let's jump right into Atlas and get exploring. Welcome. If you're new to my channel, this is the Atlas Explorer, and this week we are going over glory hunting. That's right. I'm going to show you how you can best go hunt your glory and know you're going to get best results each and every time. Now, of course, this does not mean there's any cheats, hacks, or anything going on in this channel, but that maybe if you understand how glory works, then you just might be able to get some amazing glory built up for that Primarch. Now, before we get into this video, I want to, of course, apologize that it is late. I ended up deciding to wait until after the update so that this video would not be considered obsolete within a week. So now that we've had our update, it is time to get hunting on some glory. And then, of course, don't forget to check out my other Atlas Explorer series videos. Now, I do want to thank all of you that support my channel here, and if you haven't already done so, be sure to hit that subscribe button. You can even give today's video a thumbs up, and if you hit that bell for notifications, you will also know every time I post a video. And don't forget to share. Guys, seriously, there are so many low-level players out there, and I know they're on your teams, and I know they need help. So don't forget to share this video with them. Of course, your support not only helps them, but it also helps my channel grow. It means more videos like this for you. So with that being said, let's go ahead and jump into the glory hunting video. And one of the things you should know is that I am not at all an Atlas expert. So of course I call this the Atlas Explorer series because as I explore it, I teach you what I find out. This does mean that I can make a mistake, so always be sure to double check anything that you learn, whether you read it on the forums or got it here. When it comes to glory hunting, there are going to be 5 main deciding factors when you hunt your glory. And that's going to be your troops, your primarchs, your level, location, and team influence. Now, I know I usually have to apologize for the birds, but please apologize. A storm is rolling in now. So anyways, if you hear thunder in the background, that's what that is. All right, so again, troops, primarchs, level, location, and team influence. So let's go through a few of these briefly, and then we're really going to go into detail when it comes to primarchs. Now, the first thing I want to mention is level. Now, your level will be a deciding factor on the percentage of amount of glory you can get after each attack. So keep that in mind, that you can still lose your maximum amount of troops, but if you attack something way lower than you in level, then you might not get the full amount that you may have if you had maybe attacked a player the same level or of a similar level. So with that being said, you will use this level ratio bar in order to figure that amount. Now you can actually go over to Zendesk's for War Dragons, and you can kind of get more of a breakdown on what level you can attack depending upon your level and the percentage you will get from that. I will be sure to include that link in the description. All right, guys, so your team influence. I know this is the same bar, but technically it's the same thing. Depending upon your influence rating against another person's team, this can also affect your amount of glory you get. So let's say that your team influence gives you 100% of attack because you're equal or they're bigger, and your, let's say, your level puts you at about a 50% ratio, then you're going to just go in the middle there, and that's going to be the total between those two percentage-wise. All right, a big part of this is going to, of course, be your troops. Now, the troops are a big deciding factor because not only will they decide what your cap is, but you're going to be able to decide on what your cap is when it comes to how many troops they have that you can kill. So when you attack somebody that's only got 1 troop, and you take that 1 troop, you might get 1 glory if you're lucky. So remember that every time you go to attack someone, if they don't have hardly any troops, it may not be something you're wanting to look towards going for when it comes to getting glory, because you can lose whatever troops you might have. All right, and then of course another one is, you know, home castles, enemy castles, and versus no man's land. So your location is going to have a lot to do with how much you get, but not the glory points themselves. This just is what will help decide a factor when it comes to when we talked earlier about team influence, level influence. So for example, they've got the new update, which means in no man's land, there is no team influence rating involved anymore. It's only going to be level, and of course your Primarch levels and all that stuff that's going to decide your glory. And then of course, whenever someone's attacking your own castle and you're defending and you're attacking them, you will not see, you know, anything below 100%. And that includes if you are doing that for your allies, if you're helping protect them. So you could be a level 300 and attack a level 40 that's got thousands and thousands of troops, and you're going to be able to get good glory on that because you've defended yours or your ally's castle. You will still get 100%. Now, when you attack other people's castles, this can definitely be a deciding factor on the amount of glory you get. So be very careful and very wary about attacking other castles or other players on their castles for just glory hunting. Not only is this not the best for glory points, but this also poses the issue of causing a lot of issues in this game. Remember, this section of the game is a lot more politics than it is when, what we're used to. Now, I would say easily the most confusing part for a lot of the new players is going to be the Primarch and how it is going to be a deciding factor in your glory. And that's because there are a lot of different deciding factors that you need to keep in mind whenever you're choosing or attacking a specific Primarch. And that is what we are going to really be going over with today, because I think that is a very important piece to this puzzle. So, when it comes to your Primarchs, first of all, you are going to start with the Fighter Primarch. Now, once you get your Fighter to level 5, which means you've had enough glory built up in it, you went out and got gold, and you've actually personally leveled it up to a level 5, you're going to notice that the bars between the Fighter and the Destroyer and all the other 2-star Primarchs is going to highlight like this and be yellow. You're not going to have check marks on the right side, but there will be little highlighted lines that show that you've unlocked the next level of Primarchs. During this time, you're going to want to retire your Fighter. You're not going to need the Fighter any longer. The best thing I suggest for any new player is, of course, to stick with the Destroyer, which, of course, is the Fighter that's been evolved into something a little bigger, stronger, and more powerful. But what is it about this specific Primarch that you should know before you go attacking other people? Well, the one big crazy thing is that this is what you call the balanced Primarch. And when we say balanced, we literally mean it has equal attack as it does defense. So this is a good all-around Primarch for everyone to have, especially when you're just learning Atlas. Now, that means it's going to have level 1, for example, a 170 attack and a 170 defense. So remember those numbers as we go through the next few, and I'll show you why later. All right, so the next one is going to be the Trapper. Now, the Trapper is a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful thing to have your castle to help protect it. So with this, it's because it has an amazing defense factor. Yeah, it only has a level 50 attack power. However, look at a level 1 in comparison to the last Primarch. So the last one only had 170 defense, where this one has a total of 230. So he's going to be able to defend your castles much better than your Fighter or Destroyer. And another thing is they do move across that map pretty quickly. So if you need to jump in there and help an ally, that will be a great one to send over, not necessarily to attack, but to help defend their castle. Now, another little tidbit about this specific Primarch I want to let everyone know is it's not only known as a as a Trapper, but it's also known as the Rusher. I guess there was some type of update in the past where they actually changed the name of this. So if you look at any guides in the past, if you see the word Rusher, that is what that means. It is simply a Trapper. On the opposite end of the spectrum, there is the Sieger. The Sieger is literally exactly the opposite as the Trapper. So this means it's going to have an attack power of 230 and then the defense power of 50. So with that being said, you do not want to place these on your castles in defense, no matter how many troops you've got on it. You're going to want to keep these in safe zones until you're ready to attack. However, remember, these are slow. That is a big thing you should know. I think it really is in the name. You would want to use this to siege other castles, for example. So just remember that. Now, when it comes to the Taunter, just imagine for a moment if you were going in to pick on somebody or whatever, you're going to taunt them to come to you instead of everyone else. So the Taunter is something specifically that a lot of players will put around their castles, one at each one at very, very, very high levels. So your highest levels on your team with strong bases, to be the one that the enemy comes in on will actually automatically attack it. Now, just a real quick piece of information with this. For the taunter to actually work, your taunter has to have more troops on it than the one that is attacking you. So let's say you've got a taunter on your castle and it only has, let's say, 30 troops on it, and then somebody comes in and they've got a Primarch that has 1,000 on it. They won't automatically attack you. They'll actually surpass you until it comes to your turn, because you do have to have more troops than them. So with this particular Primarch, it does have a good defense, but its attack power is a little bit stronger than, for example, the Trapper. So this is another great defense tool for your castle, but there are ways you can actually use this to your advantage to go and get glory. So let's jump into that. All right, so if you'll notice right here, you really need to understand the balance that each Primarch has, because this is a big deciding factor on what you will get in your attacks. Now, of course, this is not exact science, exact math. I just wanted to throw this together for you real quick. It's actually a little less than 20%, for example, on the Trapper, but just for math's sake, these, imagine, are all level 1 Primarchs. The very first Primarch, of course, is going to have a 50% defense, 50% attack. The second Primarch is going to have 80% of its power towards defense and about 20% towards attack, and then vice versa for your Sieger. Then, of course, with your Taunter, you're going to see about 2/3 going towards its defense and about 1/3 going towards its attack power. Now, I don't know if this really climbs up there as it goes through, but you can kind of watch the numbers and look at the percentages. Now, the reason that is important, though, is let's say, for example, I want to go get glory on, for example, my Trapper. My Trapper has a very, very, very little attack power. So if I attack, let's say, the Destroyer, or I attack a Taunter with my Trapper, it's going to likely not do very well. You're going to want your attack power to be larger than the defense power on the other Primarchs. So in this particular situation, you would want to use the Trapper against another Sieger in order to get your glory. Now, the thing is, this also depends on the level of each of these Primarchs. So, for example, if you are level 1 Trapper and you're attacking a level 10 Sieger, then you might find yourself in a bit of a hiccup anyways. And, of course, if you are wanting to get something for your Destroyer here, because he's 50-50, you pretty well know you can get anything that has low defense, so you'd want to, of course, attack another Sieger or another of its own type, another Destroyer or a Fighter, or you can hit lower level Primarchs of the others as well. So you really want to kind of keep an eye on those numbers. And then when it comes to the Taunter, he's got a little bit more attack power, so you're going to be able to go out and, of course, hit smaller level Destroyers, and then, of course, you can always hit that Sieger because the Siegers have so little defense. Of course, with the Sieger, you can jump in real quick into no man's land, and pretty much, depending on your level, you could attack all but maybe the Trapper. The Trapper might have a little bit too defense, especially if they're going to be equal in level, because you know it's going to be like a 50-50 thing. However, the Trapper's a level 1 and you're a level 3, then you could easily go up against that Trapper. So keep that in mind when you're going out to attack other Primarchs out there in no man's land. Now, this also means you don't want to just go park your Sieger out in no man's land to be attacked. If you do this, then you're likely just going to lose a bunch of troops, and I don't know, it wouldn't be worth it. You're going to want to take that in when you're actively hunting for your glory. So don't leave that in there just for suicide runs. If you're going to put something in the no man's land, I would suggest putting things like your Trapper, your Taunter, and so forth, because they will get some really decent glory there. Now, one of the things you can also do in order to get glory, and this is of course with any of these, is park them on a fellow alliance's castle that you see that gets attacked a lot. So if you notice any castles on an ally that's near a bordering area of like no man's land or friendly zones, you're going to notice that their castles do get hit more often than others, because a lot of people will go and hit that instead of no man's land for glory, or they will try to come in and take a castle from there, and we'll go over that a little bit more later as to why they would do it that way. But that is another place you can go get yourself some glory. If you don't have that option, however, no man's land is going to be the best place for you. Now let's get back into these percentages. So these are percentages. So you want to be careful because the level in which a Primarch is going to be the deciding factor on what their total growth has come to for their defense or their attack. So pay very close attention to that. So with that being said, there is more. One of the things you need to know is some of these pie charts are bigger than others. For example, the very first one here is the Destroyer. And with him, he's of course got the 50% defense, 50% attack. So with that being said, he has a 170 attack power and a 170 defense power. Now, when you put these together, it equals out to a total of power of 340. Now, granted, half is split into one and then to the other. But one thing you're going to notice when you start comparing each and every one of the Primarchs at level 1 is that this one actually has the most oomph. So the next one, of course, is going to be the Trapper. The Trapper has a total of 280 power, but you'll notice that 50 is going to their attack, and then the 230 is going down to their defense. So that means this would not be fun even for the Destroyer to attack because its defense is much stronger. Unless you leveled up, of course, that Destroyer first. And then, of course, the night and day difference from the Primarch is going to be your Sieger, which is exactly flip-flop the opposite. It's got about 20% of it going towards its defense. So it's only got a 50%, 50 at this level, level 1, that you're going to have to go up against. So the Destroyer can hit it pretty easily. All right, and then there is, last but not least, the Taunter. Now, as I said before, its percentages are a little bit different than the other two groups here. It's usually divided up in thirds. So you're going to have a third going towards your attack, and then you're going to have 2/3 going towards your defense. So with this being said, if you add those two together, unlike the 280 on the last two, or the 340 on the Destroyer, you're only going to have a total power of 210 on this one specific. Now, it is possible that as these level up into higher leagues, that their percentages change some. And of course, they all have their other advantages and disadvantages that they bring, which we'll go through in a later video. But it's very important that you understand what your attack is versus their defense if you're going to attack them, or what the possible opposing player coming in to attack your Primarch may be versus what you are putting out there. So remember that and keep that in mind. This will, of course, help you tremendously. But remember, there are all of those 5 main deciding factors: your troops, your Primarchs, your level, and, of course, your team influence. So keep all of those in mind before you do your attacks. Now, again, troop loss is what gives glory. So don't go up to somebody with 1 troop thinking you're going to get some awesome glory. You have to be willing to lose some troops. But don't do this if you don't have much. Make sure you've got plenty in reserve in case your team needs your help with defenses on those troops, okay? Now let's go through the math and show you why this is important. So for example, and I went over this briefly in a past video, when you choose your Primarch as an enemy to do a PvP and glory, you're going to want to notice, of course, this on the left-hand side is a level 1 Destroyer, and then on the right side is a level 1 Taunter. That being said, you would be able to definitely go in with this Destroyer and attack that Taunter because the defense on that Taunter is less than the attack power on that Destroyer. Now, you're going to, of course, want to compare that before you go out and attack any other Primarch. And you can actually find this chart on the same website I'm going to be posting below. So let's go ahead and look at this chart so that we can go, okay, what can I use versus what? Let's say, for example, you have a Bronze 2 Destroyer, and he's at his maximum level for that series before he goes into Silver. Then you know for a fact that Destroyer is going to have a total attack of 260 and a total defense of 260. Now you're wanting to go into no man's land and attack other Primarchs. So let's go over what you would do in this situation. So you have a level 15 Destroyer, okay? And this Destroyer is in the Bronze 2 zone, which means he is pretty much maxed out and he's waiting to go to his next level, which would be in the Silver Star zone. So with that being said, you look at this, there are 3 on the left-hand side of different Primarchs that are also in no man's land. And of course, there's their levels here as well. So if you go into no man's land and you've got these 3 here, who would you attack? Now, the first one is a sieger, and it is a silver star, and it is a level 18. The second one is a what they call a trapper now, but on here it says rusher, and it is a 2 bronze, level 1. And then of course you also have your last but not least, your taunter, but it's a 2-star silver and a level 13. So it's halfway through being exported. Okay, so let's start from the bottom on our way up. I'm pretty much going to tell you the bottom one is not a good idea. So your total attack power is 280 or 260, I mean, and his total defense is going to be a total of 550 at max. So, and then of course, if you'll notice down here, the minimum, it's going to be a total of 255. So you can kind of work those numbers there, and you're going to know that it's somewhere in between 260 and 500. So you know it's above what your Primarch can take out. So it's a big no. You cannot take that one. So let's look at the next one up. The next one up is the rusher, or you could call it the trapper, which is the new name for this. The trapper here is a 2 bronze star level, and it is going to be a level 1 at that point. So he's a very new one right here. So this rusher has a defense power of 360. Now remember, your attack power is only 260, so he may not be the best choice for you. However, the very, very top, even though the sieger is in the silver zone, even at a level 18, the sieger's defense is only a total of 95 at maximum, for example, if they're level 20. So you know that this guy's only be like maybe a defense of 91 or between 85 and 91. So you would want to, even though it's considered a level tier up from you, you would want to attack that sieger before the other 2. And that is why it is very important that you know what those levelings are and which ones are what. So if you want to, you can take a screenshot of some of these things, or you can go to the website where I found all this information, and it'll be in the description below. Now, back into this. The next part of this is, of course, you're going to want to choose one that has troops, and you're going to want to have troops because the troop loss is where the glory comes in. Now, as we talked before, whenever it comes to specific tier Primarchs and their maximum attack and defense, they're actually going to have a maximum troop loss and troop kill as well. Or not kill, I'm sorry, defense. So whenever you attack another player, the maximum amount of troop losses you're going to get is going to fall under one category. And then of course, their maximum defending is going to fall under a completely other category. So you need to keep this in mind, because you want to lose as little troops as possible and take as many from them as possible, but still be able to hit their Primarchs. So for example, on this specific situation, we had a level 1 that maximum he's going to lose when he attacks someone is only 5,000, but the other person, the level 1 taunter, is going to lose up to 7,500 maximum. So you really want to pay attention to troop loss as well. And again, if they don't have troops on them, you're not going to get any glory anyways. So why is this important? Remember back when we went over level and influence advantage, there is a math formula that you guys can learn. And again, this is something that you can find in the website. I will be including in the description below. But if, for example, when you attack another player, the amount of kills you get will give you a specific number called your base glory. Then the amount that you lose will give you what you call your maximum glory. Now your base glory, your capped glory will be on the left-hand side. You'll notice this number says 5,625. Because you killed the maximum amount of troops that they had or that they could lose, this number is the number that you use in your math. Now let's say that that number is actually larger than the number on the right-hand side, then you'll know that, for example, you were able to get the maximum amount of glory. So there is a cap depending on how many that they can lose versus how many you can lose as well. And that is the reason this is also important. Now, the most important factor goes back to knowing exactly what each Primarch does, what its attack versus defense is, so that whenever you go and you attack another Primarch, you know where you stand in that attack. So be sure to get to know these numbers, and not so much the numbers of each one, but at least the percentage, so you know if you have a good chance or not. All right, guys, so that is pretty much the wrap up of how to see, whether you are going to be able to take glory. But the next part of this video will be later tonight at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time. Right here on my channel, I will be doing a live glory hunt with me. So be sure to check back tonight so you don't miss out on that live stream. I will be hunting my own glory and answering your questions. Okay, so don't forget to check back for the next Explorer series video, which will be about Atlas for leadership. I think this is very important because we are just now getting in here. So I want to give you some of the tips that I found along the way that I think a lot of the leadership, whether it be leaders or officers or even those that have been put in a position within the castle, so that they know exactly what they can do best for their team to get Atlas organized. All right, thank you guys for spending your time with me here today. Do not forget to share this video with your fellow teammates, because it is a very important one for them, especially if they're new at Atlas. All right, guys, that is it for today. Thank you again. Make sure if you like this video that you give it a big thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, and hit that bell so you don't miss out on future videos. All right, happy hunting.